Oh, we're not talking about my
Come on, Zion, clap those hands with me. Come on, all God's people. Come on, Mike.
So listen, we're coming to you live for the first podcast on Locked In Within. Got my boo Mahogany here. None other. My Pisces. Being here. So
Here we go.
The angels stand up at the thought of you. The darkness gives way to the light of you.
Come on.
The price that you pay is a star.
What's his name?
Hosanna forever, we worship you. Hosanna forever, we worship you. The angels bow down at the thought of you. The darkness gives way to the light of you. The price that you pay is a light of you. Hosanna forever, we worship you. Hosanna forever, we worship you. For you are the strength that my soul adores.
okay, Alexa pause. Alexa pause.
Alexa don't want to pause. It's fine.
She don't want to pause.
Yes.
All right, y'all. So good morning. Y'all locked into the Jennifer Show. You know how it goes. So I don't even know. It's so nervous.
Don't be
I'll be nervous, y'all.
Still
For real,
can talk.
this I know. So the point of me doing this podcast was to bring light to just the conversations that I have with my clients while they're in my chair. Real organic, real flow, like for real. Like we literally be having some real dope conversations. It'd be about life, love, finances, their businesses, my business, whatever it is. And I also wanted to just show y'all what I do. So y'all got a 3-for-1 conversation, you know, my products that I use, and just what I do in my chair. And it like no scripts, no nothing. It's just us talking about the stuff that we talk about when I do the hair, for real. So just a little like Mahogany has been my client since I don't know, since I was at Shaylocks, for real.
Right.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I do her hair, I do Trey hair, I've done her other son hair. So, and we literally be talking about a lot of stuff.
Yes.
For real.
We gonna come up with some brilliant ideas with each other, I guess, and Darren shared a lot of insight as women together as well to help us get through some rough times. You know, it's hard. I don't know. I was talking to one of my friend girls this morning about raising sons, like how difficult it is to raise sons now and get them to do the right thing. But then as I was talking to her, she was like, oh yeah, the girls can be difficult just as well. And we don't know if it's just a generation or what. I don't know, but
I think it is too. I think it's both. So I have both. I have teenage girls, I have a teenage son, and I have little boys also.
okay.
And I think we as just a black generation, a black race, we're fearful of our boys growing up in this society. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because of all of the stuff that's going on in society now, I think that it's probably hard being a single mom with boys. You have all boys.
Yeah, I do.
You have all boys.
All boys.
And you haven't always been a single mom. That's something that's new for you. But you have older boys too.
Yeah, I do.
So what do you think your biggest fear is, or your biggest struggle is raising boys in this society now?
Well, the fear of not, they were kind of raised when, while their dad was here, which that typically doesn't have anything to do with it anyway. Because moms can raise good children without, dad, But I think my biggest issue right now that I'm dealing with is just trying to make sure that they get on their feet and stay on the right and narrow path. Like I have two that have graduated from high school and one is there. I have one that works and the other one is graduating from college in May.
That's dope in itself. Like you have boys that are in college. You know, like that's good. And then Trey's finna graduate.
He's getting ready to graduate from high school. So it's just trying to keep them on the straight and narrow. And then it's like every time they pull out the driveway, I don't hear from them, I can panic. Like, I don't sleep until I know that they're safe. And so, you know, it's just a plethora of emotions, and I can't even explain it. I feel like sometimes, you know, darn, it's a lot. And I wonder sometimes, like, am I overbearing? Am I the only one feeling like this? Like, you know, it's kind of hard. I don't even know. I don't know.
And I think, too, with me, we have sons that play sports also. Like,
Yes,
even with the fear of just them living in society, like, we worry about them being hurt in sports. Like, cause my son has been hurt 3 times last year just playing sports, or 1 time without playing sports, but then, you know, just playing sports. And I just be like, look, no more sports.
Right.
Don't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? I think we do kind of over protect our boys a little bit, but I think it comes with the territory of being a mom.
Okay.
What do you think? How do you feel about your boys playing sports? Well, all your boys play sports too, right?
All but one. Actually, the oldest one is still playing sports. Now, he's doing semi-pro football right now. Matter of fact, that's what he is right now. And he's grown as he is. I was up last night calling him. Hey, are you okay? Did you break anything? Did you hurt something with your arm? You know, and then, you know, I don't want to make as people would say, you know, make them so soft or make them, you know, you don't want to do that, but it's the love of a mom, of a parent. Not just mom, you know, but dad's not there to be like, oh, he all right, you know, this, that, and the other, versus me, I'm going to panic. You know, I haven't heard from you. You good? Like, you're not broken up or nothing. And then that comes back to the situation with the young man on the field, how things can happen by a simple hit, and then now you're in cardiac arrest. You know, so all of that stuff I think about. It's a fear. Yeah, it is.
Well, and I have 3 boys. So my teenage son is in Florida with his dad, and they do a lot of sports. Like, and I know I panic. Like, I know I panic a lot. And even with my younger boys, I think that they're so active, you know? They're real active. And I feel like, so this is the thing that I've learned with raising the younger boys. I feel like our boys are very, very intelligent. Like,
yeah, they are.
They are real intelligent. Like, for real. They are so smart. And I think we as parents have to tap into their genius. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, we have to continue to keep them occupied with the stuff that keeps their mind ticking. You know what I'm saying? Like those tablets and iPads and all that stuff. It doesn't stimulate their mind as much as they need to. You know what I'm saying? As much as it should be. So, like King, you know, I have a 5-year-old. And I know this. Okay. So King, I noticed that King likes to take stuff apart, put it together, build stuff and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I noticed at a young age, like when people used to come over to fix the trucks and stuff at the house, his dad used to have people come over and fix stuff. King would get his Power Wheels and start putting them together, taking them apart. He knows all the names of the tools and all of this stuff. And then when he came up here, this Negro started taking my damn doors apart with screwdrivers. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is going on? So instead of us being mad at these boys because they have these creative minds, like, I just started buying him Legos, buying him blocks, buying him tools, buying him stuff that continues to stimulate his mind every day, instead of just go play on the tablet, go watch TV, go do this and go do that.
Or they don't go outside. They can't go outside.
They can't go outside no more, right?
No.
It's scary, right? They can't go outside no more.
No.
So instead of me beating his ass every day because he's messing up stuff in the house, we just have to stimulate their minds with stuff that's going to keep them from being badass. I mean, they're going to be badasses, but just keep them occupied just for a little bit longer, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot. Like, a lot of our black men are very intelligent. Very, very intelligent.
Yeah, I agree. That's, you know, and I think now we in a society where we allow the TVs and the iPads to raise our children, and that's another thing that's going on now. Like, they feel like they're so entitled. The kids do. The entitlement of the kids and the way that they act, they feel like it's okay for them to display this ugly ass behavior, be it girl or boy.
Yeah.
You know, it's about the show. Everything is not about the show. I mean, you know, so that's where it comes in for us as parents to try and make sure that we try and keep them grounded and let them know that this is for entertainment purposes only. These people do not live like this for real. Hopefully.
And they don't understand that because all our kids is, Mommy, I want that. Mama, I want that. Mama, I want to do that. But, bro, you're right. It is for sure.
Yeah.
But even with me, I feel like sometimes I lack even looking at what they're looking at on YouTube and stuff. Like, I don't sit there and be like monitoring every little thing that they watch or
Right.
seeing what it is that they're, you know,
Looking
what
at.
they're paying attention to and why they're coming to me saying the shit that they say or doing the shit that they do, because I'm not monitoring what they're watching on YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I know too, we as parents have to be more cognizant of what we're watching, because a lot of these cartoons are not damn cartoons. They cussing and talking about sex and doing all this other type of shit.
And you don't realize
You
it until
don't
you're like,
realize
whoa,
it.
wait a
You're like,
minute, you
what
been
are you
watching
watching?
this?
Yes.
Like Peppa Pig, you ever watch Peppa Pig?
No.
Okay, Peppa Pig is freaking disobedient to her mom. I didn't ever realize it. Like, she talked back.
Really?
Yes. I was like, oh my God. No, we won't be looking at this because Peppa Pig gonna cause you to get your butt beat. You and that damn pink pig. So yeah. But I didn't never look, you know, until I really sat down. I'm like, oh, okay, Peppa be getting in trouble
All the time.
all the time.
I didn't know.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know.
Yeah, but yeah.
So what do you feel? Because, you know, when we was growing up, we got our ass beat. We wasn't allowed to be in parents' faces. We wasn't allowed to talk back. We didn't even have TV. So what do you think the gap came from the way we was raised versus how we raised our kids? Because we're about the same. You're a little older than me, but we're about the same age. But I feel like sometimes we're as parents, we want to give our kids what we didn't have.
And I
so
think that's
much.
exactly what it is. I think that our parents, you know, made way for them. You know, they struggled a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when they came to our parents, you know, they started, you know, being able to do a little bit more. So our parents didn't want us. They sheltered us a little bit, okay? To where we, you know, they didn't really teach us to go to college and all of that. They didn't push all of that. Well, I'm going to speak in my point, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We weren't really pushed to go to college. We knew it was a choice, okay, at the time. And they didn't push for it. They were busy working. You know, our parents work. So we, as a generation, started to go to college, started to do all of this stuff. And then we gave everything that we didn't have, being entrepreneurs, being, you know, having your own, you know, having your degrees and all of this stuff. And nice jobs. Some people come out like me. I went to school for a certification, but I think I still came out good with, you know, with my job or whatever. But I was able to do a little bit more for my children than what my parents were doing for me. And I think that sometimes what we tend to do is shelter them and get them everything they want to keep them out of the street, keep them from playing, because they can't do anything.
Yeah.
But we give. So now it comes this entitlement. To now when they're growing up, you have to keep that up. They think you're supposed to take care of them. They won't leave our house. Like, we were leaving the house, we already had a plan. When you turn 18, you were already saying, well, let me start saving up some money so I can get out my parents' house.
Right.
Not only because you just wanted your freedom, it's just because that's what we knew to do. You know, we want to be out. And now the kids don't. They feel like they're supposed to live off of you. They don't want to work. They don't want to do
But why?
nothing.
But you think it's because we allow it, though? You know what I'm saying?
But
Like,
it's the entitlement too. It's
yeah.
the entitlement too.
But do you feel like we can still? They can be entitled, but we can discipline more.
Oh yeah, I think discipline. I think when kids were allowed to call defects when they got a spanking, I believe it gave people. There's a difference between being a child.
Where did that come from?
But
though?
that's my point. There's a difference. We used to get spankings in school.
Yeah.
Even if it was not, but they stopped that. So what I'm saying, I think that when the discipline all the way around, they gave the kids too much control. There's a difference between beating a child and spanking a child.
Mm-hmm.
Then some people don't believe in neither one.
We used
You know,
to get beat. Did
so
you get beat when you was
I
growing
got a
up?
whipping one time with an extension cord.
Ooh.
Yeah, one time. It was
That's
on
it?
like 2 or 3 licks, and that's all it took.
You must have been good. 'Cause
I
I
was a
think
good
I was
child.
bad.
I was a good child. I'm still a good child.
I got in trouble a lot because of my mouth, though. It was because of the stuff that I used to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I just, and still now I still got a mouth. For
I
real,
got a
for real.
mouth too. It's a Pisces thing.
It got to be a Pisces
It's a
thing.
Pisces thing.
It has to be. We know everything. Want to control everything.
Yeah.
Miss Know It all the time.
Yep. And the attitude when it don't go our way.
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's still now.
Yeah.
It don't change.
Yeah.
It don't change.
But I mean, you know, once again, I just, you know, I think that discipline it plays a big part in a whole lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Discipline does. And then I mean, I don't know. Then too, I think for me, when I'm looking at it, it's not just discipline. I think sometimes children don't have an opportunity to express themselves either. I think that you can speak with your children sometimes, just to see. Like, it's not always about whipping either, okay?
Right.
But I think that kids should be able to respectfully say, hey, mom, dad, this is what's going on with me. This is why I did X, Y, Z, so we can all have an understanding before I beat your ass.
Right. We didn't have an option growing up.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It wasn't an option, but that's the problem too. So it makes us angry. A lot of people angry, and the first thing we do, and it's a lot behavior. Mm-hmm. The first thing you do, instead of you talking to your child and saying X, Y, Z, blah, 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 you just automatically go off and beat their ass. So now, and it's not always about that. Sometimes it is. Because you done told them, but sometimes you do have to take a step back and see what the root of the problem is. Yeah. But that comes with maturity. Like when I got a little bit older, that was my method for my kids. But I had a open door policy with them. And that's what made us close. So now as they're adults, they can talk to me. Mm-hmm. And they would come and talk to me before they talk to their daddy sometimes. Yeah. They were like, Mama, look, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. Please don't tell Dad. But we're going to have to tell them.
How do you feel about that? Right. When they, how do you, okay, so being in a relationship, being in a marriage, and having kids. Mm-hmm. Me, I know I'm the soft parent. I know I'm the soft parent. Mm-hmm. I know my kids always want to come to me first and tell me stuff that's going on. And be like, don't tell daddy. Right. Because they know daddy going to either whoop their ass or be mad.
It's going to be a different type of different. Yes.
Right. Uh-huh. But how do you feel about being a wife and having... Like, do you struggle with having that don't tell dad connection with your kids, or do you always side with your husband and be like, oh no, we telling your daddy?
Okay, so let me tell you. I would talk to them, okay? Mm-hmm. And I would say, you're going to have to tell your daddy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to act like I don't know. But let me tell you how to handle this, okay? Mm-hmm. This is what you do. You need to come up because he's going to be mad, or X, Y, Z, you were wrong. You need to come up with an A, B, and C plan after, because I don't know how he's going to react, but we're not going to hide it from him. Right. Because that brings issues if it comes back out between you and your mate. Right. Because it's always going to be one parent that the kids feel a little bit more comfortable talking to. And I'm sure it's some stuff boys going to talk to their daddy about that they are going to talk to me about. Right.
Period. So do you think when the kids go to the dad and tell them stuff that the dad come to us and tell them stuff?
Oh,
or do you think
that
us being moms or us being wives feel entitled to tell the dad that because of whatever reason?
I mean, no, I feel like it should be an open line of communication. Everybody should know what's going on. Right. But have I heard some stuff from my husband, from my children? Hell yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah, but it, in the end, if it comes out, but if it was something really, 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 really bad, right? I'm like, no, your dad need to know, right. But if it was something that I can handle, I probably would kind of like, look, we're gonna do this time. Let it happen again. Mm-hmm. Then I'm telling. But I think I was the easier parent. They would talk to me first about stuff, and then they were like, well, Mom, when I tell Dad, how you think he gonna act? Well, I don't know, because that's on y'all. He a man, right. So his reaction to you is gonna be totally different from mine.
Right. I think that with the girls, they always probably come to me, and tell me stuff. I don't know, because my oldest daughter, she say my attitude is bad when she tells me certain stuff.
It's a girl thing.
She have an attitude about it, right? Yeah. So sometimes she rather go talk to her dad. I be like, you're not scared to tell him that? She be like, no, I ain't scared to tell him that. That's my daddy. Like, I'm gonna talk to him. Like, she don't.
But that's that father and daughter relationship, and the boys would probably be the ones that come to you about stuff.
I don't know. My oldest son, he don't really talk to nobody about nothing. He hold a lot of stuff in. Okay. So I don't know how it would be with him. Like, if he was to lose his virginity or something.
But honey, you'll know.
I don't know if he would tell me.
No, you ain't gonna have to tell neither one. He gonna change.
He gonna start acting.
Oh my God, girl, I can tell by each one of mine.
Really?
Yes. And when you say a girl smell themselves, them little boys, they be a little different too.
Really?
Yes, they have little attitudes and stuff like they the man.
See, I ain't ready.
Oh, you gonna know right away. The attitude gonna change. You gonna be like, why they acting like that? Don't got that little animosity out of their little pockets in the bottom of their drawers. And yeah.
Oh no, I'm not ready.
Yeah, you're gonna tell. You're gonna be able to tell right away. They're gonna change. They start smelling themselves too. And I thought it wasn't true until my friend was like, girl. I was like, she said, I think my son lost his virginity because he different. I was like, yeah, he did. The attitude is totally different.
When
Yes.
is it? Do it be like a release of testosterone
I
or
guess,
like
I
a
don't know,
boost of testosterone?
girl.
Like, what is it that makes them change and act different?
They act a little different. I'm trying to tell you, girl. You're going to know right away. You're like, wait a minute. Yeah, you're going to know.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That man beat your ass just like acting different, bro.
Whatever. That is not going to work. I'm telling you now, the threat. Yeah, but yeah, it's just so much going on now.
How did you deal with your first son going off to college?
I cried when I dropped each one of them off at school. I was scared because I dropped them off in a place that unknown, you know. And I'm like, okay, this is your life now. This is where you are. And for the first month or so, you know, I kept in touch with them a lot. But then, girl, they stopped answering my phone calls. That mean they were fine. They don't find their way until they need something. That's what happened. When they need something, they start calling and answering the telephone then.
So they stopped talking to you when they was in college?
Yeah, you know, they'll still communicate, send random texts, but then, you know, with the phone ring, they need some money.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. But, you know, I have to
My son
understand.
do that now. He only call me when he be like, Mom.
That blank text.
It'll be the mom.
M.A. mom. I be like, what you want? Sometimes I even just gonna get out the cash up and send some money. You know.
And I'm like, bro, you ain't even called me today to say, hey, how you doing? I'm like,
Nothing.
I called you yesterday to ask me for something yesterday too. You ain't said nothing to me.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. They that way. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. And then now for me, with me being, you know, a single parent now, I think my issue now with my sons is with them losing their father. You know, it's kind of different now for them. They don't talk about it. It's sheltered in. I don't know if they don't. I know they think about it. We talk about their dad a lot. I try and make sure that it's open. You know, but I think they hold a lot in.
Do you think that's a man thing? Like, do all your boys hold stuff in? Or is one of them more open than the other?
They hold stuff in when it pertains to their dad. I don't think they've totally dealt with the fact that he's not here anymore. So,
have you all had any type of family therapy at all?
I can't get, girl, I have tried to get these boys to go to therapy. And no, you know, nobody wants to go. I just think they're not dealing with it. So I'm going to have to wait for it. You know, I always keep the lines of communication open. You know, how you feel today? What's going on with you? You know, without being a bugaboo, but I have to because...
You don't want them to hold it in.
And I don't want them to be angry and this, that, and the other, you know, because, you know, they did lose their dad tragically, you know, and, you know, they were real close to their daddy. So it's a lot.
And they all have the same dad, right?
They all have the same father. So, yeah.
I heard someone say, when stuff happens to you in life, deal with it. Let it out. Because if you don't, it's going to come up later. And it's going to be at the wrong time. And you're going to have some type of reaction to it that you didn't know that you could have. Like, it's either going to break you down or you're going to do something real crazy because you never dealt with whatever it was internally.
Yeah, I can. My niece, my sister passed away in 2007 in a car accident. My niece really never dealt with it. Never really dealt with it. She got ready to get married, her engagement. At the engagement party or whatever, we all knew, you know, he was going to propose. She was good then. Then I guess when, you know, all of the planning and her realizing, darn, you know, I'm getting ready to get married. My mama's not here.
So how many years was it?
She just got married last year.
It's been that long?
It's been a year. So my sister's, So, you know, so all of these things that you will have your mom to be there for.
Mm-hmm.
She's had to use her grandmother, auntie, or cousins, or it's one of us. Thank God, my family is real close knit. So somebody always had we were always there to support each other. So she had never really been by herself, but it's nothing like your mom. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so she started experiencing anxiety. So I literally had to just get off work one day. I said, let me go see about my baby because she's just not normal, And she was like, everything started hurting. She started having these, it was just crazy. Her body was going through it. Because once again, like you said, you internalize it, it comes out some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I have to make it my business that I try and be there. I'm not mom,
Right.
and I'm not, grandmother either. My mom, really raised her the most. I helped because I had kids and I was in a different household. But my mom raised her from the age of 14 all the way up.
Wow.
And so, like, for her first child to be born, I was there. And I had to make it my business that I be there, because she has nobody else besides us.
And that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So with you losing your husband,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like someone took the responsibility of making sure you're okay? Like, do you feel like, so how you are to your niece, do you feel like?
Yeah, I can say that between both families,
Mm-hmm.
his and mine,
Mm-hmm.
because I was in the family since I was like 15 to 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We dated throughout high school.
Okay.
So they have always been supportive, always been around. When I had to do all the planning and I don't know what I would have done without family, period, whether it be mine or his. Like
That's amazing.
I barely had to, I don't lift a finger. Hey, this is what your options are. What do you want us to do? That was nobody fought me for anything. Nobody acted out and just, it wasn't no drama. It was like, okay, you're the wife. But on the flip side of that, I still had to respect that his parents lost a son just as well.
Right.
So it was like, okay, this is
Right.
what I'm doing when I could get myself together to talk. This is what I'm doing, to having to go pick out what he was going to wear and all of that. It's emotional. I couldn't even get up out of my chair to pick out the casket. You see, so for that, his sisters and his mom and dad and my parents and uncles were there, and they went and did all of that for me and came back and said, hey, look, these are the pictures. Which one of these do you like? Because I couldn't function. And even like today, in this day's time, I still struggle with it. I still struggle with it daily. So, it's hard being the one having to figure it out. Because now everything is on me. Life decisions, car decisions, children decisions, whatever. I don't have anybody to go and say, hey, what you think? Or, so everything is on me now. That's hard.
And I think people don't understand how stressful it is on someone to lose someone. Even with you lost someone, but the parents lost someone, and the kids lost someone.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that it's so hard to find strength to be there for each other in those different places. Like, to have the strength to be a mom, also be a good daughter-in-law, and also be a widower. Like, for you to have to grieve and find strength to at the same time to still be a mom, like, that has to be unimaginably hard. Like, I can't imagine it because I haven't been through it.
Prayer. I don't, like I said, I don't know. My mom probably stayed at my house with me every day for about a month. She was there all the time. If she wasn't there, somebody was in my house with me because I couldn't function. And, for a month, I had people at my house just there. Even though I was tired some days, I would just go to bed. I didn't care how many people was in my house. Y'all could steal the whole damn house, or, because sometimes there were people I didn't know. I just go away. Didn't want to be bothered. But, the reality of it is, through prayer, not just my prayers, somebody always have to cover you. And somebody, when you have a covenant and people are praying for you and not against you, stuff started to come full circle. And, and I think the biggest thing for me Everybody, we don't know our day and time. We have to be prepared. So whoever else is left there after you won't have to try and figure out how to bury you, how to do this stuff, which made it less stressful. And I think that's another thing that we have to learn to do as well. We need to make sure that we start getting these life insurance policies together. It's something that none of us want to talk about. Start getting a will, because all the fighting and bickering takes away from the celebration of life. Yeah.
That's important. I hear a lot of people say that, and I think we, as a young generation, as Black people, as whatever, you see so many, what do you call it, cups in people's stores and donations and GoFundMe's for people deaf, because we don't take the time to prepare for that. And it's so important. It's so necessary.
Right.
Like I have it's 7 people in my family. 7. And we have assets and kids and stuff that we need to make sure that we have in order, because we're real close. You know what I'm saying? Like we never let, like, as far as like no one else handles our business but us.
And that's good.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
it'll be open and you'll know.
Right.
Yes.
But it's also scary, like if we don't have wills and stuff going on, then it's hard for us. We don't want anyone else to have to take over that, because we have young kids.
Yes.
So who's going to take care of our kids?
Yeah, you gotta
5.
say that. Yes.
You have to let people know what you want done if anything happens.
Yes.
Anything can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm driving on these highways in Atlanta every day.
Yeah.
All day. And it's necessary for us to do that. Let me hold on 1 second. Let me pause this.